or I'll be really mad. All right, so I want to look through before we get into today's lesson. I keep having some people who are not understanding some things with the way the class works, right? And I honestly think it couldn't be any more straightforward. Okay, so if you're newer here, I've got a video posted here where I literally explain how to walk through the class. Okay, um, I post the live lessons for all year are on here. Okay, so if there's something I'm talking about this from earlier in the year, you have the access to those things, so you have no excuse to not go back and watch them and learn them. You're responsible by the end of the year for knowing all the sixth grade curriculum. So if you were in some other school and they weren't teaching very fast or whatever, you've still got to know this stuff because this is stuff that builds on for this year and the future. Right. I do want to just go through really quickly. So this is I'm on sample student view here. So if you click on grades here, all right, then it goes through here and it will show you if there's a little blue dot right there, that means there's a comment or I've entered a grade. And then there will sometimes be little things beside it that look like little clipboards with my comments. You need to make sure you read those to see what comments I've sent you because that shows you what you need to do differently or better, etc. Two, on all these things right here, you have anytime there's points out of anything other than zero, right? So from 10 up to 100, then that means that's counting on your grades. Okay. Now, I've tried all kinds of different things this year to try to make sure people know that we've got to do all the work. What I finally decided on is I'm just going to make everything count for the rest of the year on your grade, period. So even daily practice stuff, I'm putting it out of 10 points. And, you know, where if you don't do it, then you get 0 out of 10. Okay. If you just turn in some crap, I'm not giving you points for that. I'm not, you probably noticed those of y'all who do your work that if I send you a message back saying you did a couple of things wrong on it, I'm not taking all points on daily practice for that. I'm just trying to make sure y'all understand it's math class. You got to do all the work. Okay. Um, Two, I had somebody the other day who was sending me a message saying they already did something when they were, for example, on 11/15, we had a Nearpod in class. That did not mean we didn't have practice after class. Okay. So today, all right, so that person was like, but I already did the Nearpod. Yeah, that wasn't it. Okay. There was a practice assignment too. So you got to look through your grade book, make sure you've done every single thing. Okay. And that you don't have anything with zeros beside it. Okay. The best way to follow the class, just to remind you again, is this that when you're looking through this class, there's a weekly checklist that tells you everything we're going to do this week. Okay. And so when you look through that, it says, okay, here's the live lesson, slides I used in the live lesson, but I'm using Nearpods. That's where I'm seeing what you did during class. Then there's a practice assignment that's usually on some handout that I've a PDF of, and then you turn that work in on Canvas. Then, because I want you to make sure you have feedback and can understand it, I video myself going over that practice. So if you need help on something, you can get that help even while you're doing it. Okay. All right. Then there was a weekly review here. Okay. That is turned in on Canvas also. All right. This stuff from earlier in the curriculum, earlier grade levels, even. Right. Then there's a practice assignment there. Then here we have today, we got this Nearpod. Then notice there is a practice assignment that you're doing afterwards. Okay. That works on these skills. You've got to get used to that's how it is. Okay. Tomorrow, notice that I have a couple of YouTube videos posted from different people that are working on some different skills that are not exactly the one we're on today. So you need to make sure you watch those before you do the practice tomorrow. All right, so just make sure you see that. And then two, notice that we are navigating the class going through the modules here. Okay, so what you ought to be doing in this class is going step by step through the module, like one day at a time, every part of it. I don't post random stuff just for my own entertainment. Okay, so you got to make sure you're walking through the modules, doing every single thing in there. Right, that's the way the class works. Right. Okay, back to plenty of announcements there, except for map testing is next Monday during live lessons. If you did not get your device set up, go look at your homeroom teacher will have posted a video of them going through those slides. I know I did, and I'm sure Mr. Harris or Mr. Madavi did as well. To make sure you have your device properly set up. I know a couple of my guys are going to come back in um, at target time and make sure that I can help them get their set up properly. All right, so get yourself logged into this Nearpod if you've not done so yet. So 7HWKN. I'll put that code down in the chat bar because I'm going to switch over myself over to my Nearpod. All right. So here it is right here. Again, I do look at those things and I'm seeing that you've done all the slides I've asked you to. And that's doing your best on that is what I'm putting in a few points to in the grade book for in class. Also. All right. So I'm switching over to here. That it posted right there. Oh, look at it. Oh, you want the link. Okay. So FY, the link is always that's the wrong link. My bad. Linky link. All right. If you prefer the link, here is the link right there. All right. So we got 10 in, we got 20 people in here. That means we're at 50%, 10 out of 20. There you go. How do you close your Zoom to switch to Chrome? So what I would do on that, Chloe, how do you do that? How do y'all pull the how do how do people let's see who's yeah, so double click your screen. So my daughter says you double click your screen and click the minus button. So basically, I think different people find different ways they do this. Yeah, he said it worked. So it just is one of these things where you got different ways people try to do stuff. Like so for me, I work on two screens because that allows me to kind of see my slides over here and then I look over. That's the reason y'all see me looking over is I look over here and see what's going on over here and then I teach off of this one. So, all right, good question, Tristan. All right, so here we are. So got that. We should be ready to get moving here. Let me know anybody else who's needing some help with getting logged in here. All right, so I want to point to what we're working on today is this whole interpreting statements using equal to, not equal to, greater than, less than. We're also going to go ahead and do less than or equal to and greater than or equal to, which is kind of technically seventh grade, I think, but I think it just makes more sense to go ahead and do that. Um, and then understand that absolute value represents your distance from zero and describing that in real world situations, right? So those are kind of the main things we're doing. Yeah, Mary, you're exactly right. Less than or equal to is just you put the little line under the less than sign, right? It's all there is to it. It just means it could equal that. All right. So today's goals are using inequalities to compare rational numbers and the absolute values of rational numbers and write inequalities represent situations. All right. Okay. So first one here, I think this is one you need to write on. Yep. So which numbers have an opposite that is greater than 5? So I put a number line on there just to kind of help you out there. All right. So go ahead and answer this one. So which ones have an opposite that is greater than 5? So remember the opposite just means change the sign, right? So you change the sign for each one of them, and then you see, is it greater than 5? Okay, so if I'm looking at it, I'm saying the opposite of -6 is 6. Is 6 greater than 5? Yes. Okay, so I would circle that one. All right, that's how I will be doing that. All right, so let me take, no, Wyatt, do the work on, just do the work on the Nearpod. None of this is going to be super complicated work. That's the reason I use Nearpods on this. It's because it's all work that you can scratch out on a screen like this pretty well. It's the reason I didn't do it earlier in the years, because if we were doing this when we were doing ratios, then y'all's screens would all look like this, right? And I didn't really want that. All right. Let me see what we're looking at here. Turn the names off. All right. I'm wanting you to answer them, not just copy mine. You can change yours if you need to after I go over it, but don't just wait on me to do it. That's not the point. Okay. A few more seconds here. If you think about it, it's like, well, the way we're doing this right here is kind of risk free for you, right? Like I'm not calling out your name. I just want to see that you're doing it. And then if you screw it up and I'm like, oh, yeah, you screwed up, I'm not going to say your name and embarrass you. I'm just going to see what the mistake is so I can correct it. Okay. So you're way better off just giving it a shot. All right. So let me erase my doodling here. All right. So the way I would work through this one would be okay, the opposite is greater than 5. Well, what I would do is I would go through and I would write the opposites for each one of them. Okay. So I would say, all right, the absolute value, or sorry, the opposite of 5.5 would be -5.5. That is totally less. All right. Opposite of -14 is +14. So that's totally more than 5. The opposite of -3 is +3, which is positive, but it's still less than 3 or less than 5. And 0 is opposite of 0. So there's that. Okay. So that's what you should have on the first slide is A and C. Okay. Questions on that one? All right. I'm just trying to go through a lot of this too with me trying to pace it like I have been, is I'm trying to make sure that we have time to kind of see a whole bunch of different types of questions. Okay. All right. Next one. Does this one I have this one right on also or no? No. Okay. I think on this one is one where I had, yeah, Sage, I'm sorry. This is where I run into the I have too many slides and it won't let me do all of them kind of thing. So which numbers have an opposite that is less than 9? Okay, so let me just maybe real quick type your answer in the chat here so I can see what you're getting. So an opposite that's less than 9. So what I would be doing here is I would be putting the opposites of all of these. It's not going to let you type on your slides. Okay. That will be -14, +8, and 0. Okay. So all we're looking at is, are these less than 9? Is that a true statement if we put this? Okay. All right. So A is going to be false. Okay. You see how what I'm doing here is I'm just going through and I'm checking all of them for seeing if they're a true statement. Is -9.5 less than 9? Yes. So you should put B. Is -14 less than 9? Yes. So put C. Is 8 less than 9? Yes. So put D. And is 0 less than 9? Yes. Put E. Okay. So again, this is not hard at all. I'm just wanting you to see these are the kind of things where seeing the type of question is important, because then you're like, what does that even mean? That's all it means. But that's how you would kind of scratch out the work. Okay. All right. Any questions on that? I don't think it's too tricky once you get the idea of what it's saying. All right. All right. Let me erase. Come on, eraser. Why are you so small? Okay. Okay. Next one. Yeah, I think that was just the one that I decided to not get you to do the writing on. All right. Here we go. So this is a bit more on absolute values, meaning I'm going to do a little bit more before we get on to the inequalities. So for negative numbers, yeah, not really, Liam. as the absolute value increases, the value of the negative number decreases. Okay, so here's the idea, all right, of this. And did I leave this one while you could draw on this? I don't know why I did, but I should have made the last one that, but I didn't. So here's the deal. -8 is clearly less than -2, okay, right? Because less and greater. But the absolute value of -8 is 8. And the absolute value of -2 is 2. So what that means is that, okay, -8 is further from 0 than -2. That's what that means. So the -8 has a lower value in the real world. So when you're on the negative side, the value of it, like in reality, is lower. So the deal is this: if you have -8, you owe $8. That's worse than owing $2, right? So that's less and that's greater. However, if you're viewing it in absolute value terms, then you're saying that you owe more money because you're farther away from not owing money. Okay. So you just got to be careful with that in interpreting the situations and realizing that, okay, if I'm at talking about below sea level, -300 feet, right, is way further below sea level than, say, -5 feet, right? That kind of thing. Okay. Let's see, Jada and Liam both have their hands up. Liam, do you need something?
On the last slide, it said the opposite of 9. Is 0 don't got an opposite, does it?
I mean, not really. So
Okay.
it would just, I mean, just assume it's 0. It's fine. Yeah. All right. I'm not gonna be like tricky on you on that. All right. Like it's not a huge point. All right. Jada, you still got a question? Okay. What's that?
So my question is that on the last slide on number 9, I was not accessed to like draw on it and get my answer.
That's right, Jada. I had the deal is that I don't have like a whatever paid subscription to Nearpod, so they'll only let me use a certain amount of memory on each one. Okay, so if it didn't let you draw, that was right. Okay, you're good. No worries. All right. Okay, next one. Is there no drawing on this one either? Huh? No. What's funny is that I accidentally left drawing on one I shouldn't have, and I should have totally made this one drawing. Okay. Um, that was my mistake on this one. I should have left it on this one, but I didn't. So I'm gonna kind of show you how to do one like this. Okay. So these are kind of like these little riddle things. Okay. So we got a submarine is an elevation of -100 feet. Okay. So that would be right here. Okay. All right. So Claire's elevation is greater than the elevation of the submarine. She is further from sea level than the submarine. I think I might have. Hold on a second. Are you sure that I didn't just accidentally copy that? No, I didn't. Okay. Because I remember the other day I did that. And I was like, what? Okay. So what we got here is, so Claire's further from sea level than the submarine is. Okay. So what that would tell us right here is that Claire has an elevation that's up here, greater, right, than the submarine. But she's further from sea level than the submarine. So what you see here is that the submarine is 100 away from sea level. So what Claire has to be is Claire has to be up here. Okay. Why does Claire have to be up here? Think about it. So Claire is further from sea level than the submarine. The submarine has an absolute value of 100. Yeah, Sage, I know. Sorry. So the idea being Claire's got to be up here, okay, above 100. Andre's elevation is less than the elevation of the submarine. Andre is farther away from sea level than the submarine. Okay, so that means Andre, right, has to be down here somewhere. So that means Andre is down here. Okay. Han's elevation is greater than the elevation of the submarine, and he's closer to sea level than the submarine. So that means Han, so he just got to be above the submarine, and he is closer to sea level. So that means Han right here could be anywhere between the 100 negative and the 100 positive. All right. And then Lynn's elevation is the same distance away from sea level as the submarine. So Lynn could either be right here, right? Or Lynn could be right here. Okay. So either of those could be the answer there. I know I just kind of talked you through that one, but I wanted you to see one like that so that if you run across one that you've seen an example of how to do that. You just kind of have to think through them and kind of draw until it makes sense of the problem that you got. Okay. That's all there is to that. It's not some super fancy thing. You just got to make sure that what you're identifying there fits with the situation and just double check it. Okay. Okay. This one you can write on, right? Okay. All right. So I said don't overthink these. So I want you to answer this one. Okay. So Gwen borrowed $20 from her mother to buy a scarf. Then she went to her favorite department store and charged a pair of boots for $120 and boot socks for $12. Which absolute value statement describes Gwen's total debt? Okay. So if you add those up, so go ahead and circle your answer on that. See if you're understanding this properly. Okay. I don't want you to overthink it. It's not really that hard. Okay. So which one is it? Circle your answer. I want to see who's getting it, who's not. All right. So in the sense of don't overthink it, clearly it adds up to 152, right? So don't overthink it. And then think about what, yes, it does. How does it add up to 152? Plus 20. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. All right. So, okay, looks like most people got it here. All right. The correct answer is this right here. Because she owes $152. That's negative 152, right? And the absolute value of that is $152, which means simply that she's $152 away from not owing money. Okay. So again, I wanted you to see the types of questions that you have to be able to do with this. And if you're like, oh, it's not hard, you're right, it's not. Okay, as long as you understand what they mean. All right. Okay. The deceleration of 25 miles per hour can be described by which absolute value statement? Is this a non-draw? Okay. All right, then thank you for telling me. All right, so again, same thing here. Deceleration of 25 miles per hour, and it says absolute value statement. Then what you should be going for is, okay, well, it's that far away from, say where it was going, right? So then it would be the one inside right there, and then absolute value is always positive. So you would pick A right here. If you feel like that seems kind of stupid, I do too. Okay. I'm just like, I don't know why the heck anybody would do that in the real world, but I'm just telling you that's the kind of questions I've run across. And I just want to make sure you're prepared for them. Okay. If you're like me and you're like, that seems pretty stupid, I agree. Okay. But that's just how it works. All right. Yeah. All right. Here's another one like this. The temperature on Sunday was negative 5 degrees Fahrenheit, which absolute value the statement describes how far below zero this temperature is. This one seems to make more sense to me. All right, so go ahead and answer this one. Again, I think this is pretty easy. Don't overthink it. All right, so think about this is an absolute value statement. Some of y'all have mixed this one up here. If you're thinking about it as an absolute value statement here, what you should be thinking about is that it is 5 degrees away from 0, right? That's what you should have started with. So some of y'all need to look at your answer a little bit and make sure that you thought about it that way. Okay, so I see some A's. A is not correct here. All right, what we're needing on this one is going to be C, okay? Because the absolute value of -5, 5 degrees below 0, is 5 degrees away from being at 0. Okay, so it's C. So I'll change your answer to C if you had A before. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. All right. Okay, so the basics of inequalities, just to kind of get this. Greater than, right, eats the bigger number. Less than, right? So that's the reason I put the alligator on there. Alligator eats the bigger number, right? Equal to, not equal to, right? Okay. Now, the thing to know here, inequalities are basically can be viewed as true false statements. Okay. So if I say that 8 is greater than -5, that's true. If I say that -9 is greater than -4, that's false. Okay. And so a lot of times you're looking through examples of like whether or not these are true statements or not. Okay. All right. Now, applying inequalities to absolute value. Okay. So the first thing here is how do you say this? Well, the way you say this is that this is the absolute value of -8, which means on a number line that -8 is 8 places away from 0, which means that its value is 8, right? We've already done that. Okay. Now, the way we say this is going to be like this. And this is just an example I'm going to show you. The absolute value of -8 is less than 5. This is the way you read that. So the absolute value of -8 is going to be 8. Is 8 less than 5? Well, no. What that means is that you're saying that this, which is the absolute value of -8, +8. Is that less than 5? No, it's not. So that's false. Okay. So what you do when you got the absolute value is you got to evaluate it. What I mean by that, in case you get that like note on some work you do, and I write a note to say evaluate the absolute value first, that means that what I just did right here, the absolute value of -8 is 8. So the first thing you should have done is written down absolute value of -8 is 8. Okay. That's how you do it. The first thing you have to do before you make the comparison. All right. All right. All right. So here's our next one here. We have, all right. Basically, you're going to mark each one of these as true or false and explain how you know that. Okay. So the first one says -5 is less than 3. The second one says -5 is greater than 3. Then it has it with the absolute values. So what I'm wanting you to do here is for each one of them, okay, you write down true or false. Okay. So on yours, what it should be looking like is you're drawing through these things like this. -5, +3. Is that a true statement or is that a false statement? Okay, well, here's less, there's greater. Which one's greater? Well, 3 is greater than -5. So that is a true statement. So that's how I wanted you to do number 1. So do 2, 3, and 4 the same way. All right. Do 2, 3, and 4 the same way. So you either have a true or a false. True, false. So check all 4 of them. True and false. Okay. Give it just another minute here. Make sure you get a chance to get your answers down. All right. All right, let me pick a random one to check here. All right. So this one, I've got true, false, false, true. Okay. So let me see what we got here. Oh, sorry, I did not mean to do that. Ah, what in the world? Go away. Go back to here. No. There we go. Sorry. Okay, so no, student. There we go. All right, so the second one, -5 is greater than 3. No, right? Because here's 3, that's clearly greater, -5 is less. Okay, so that's false. All right. The absolute value of -5 is +5. Notice I said the first thing you do is always to evaluate that. So then you say 5 is less than 3. No, it's not. Wrong, false. Okay. And then the absolute value of -5 is greater than 3. First, evaluate it. 5 is greater than 3. Yes, that's true. Okay. All right. Everybody see what we did there? Good? All right. Simple enough, right? It's really not that hard once you get the hang of it. Okay. All right. Next one. And why I put this over here, I don't know, but I did. Okay. All right. Jada. Hey, Jada's in here. This is like the example person on this where I pulled these problems from. Built a robot that pushes small boxes from one place to another. The robot is able to push up to 3 pounds. For what box weights can the robot push the box? Okay, that y'all don't have annotate on this one, Nico. You do? Okay. All right. Now, so it says to list your answers in 3 possible ways. So yeah, you do. All right. One, by listing or describing all numbers that answer the equation. 2, by plotting or graphing the values that work on a number line. And 3, by writing an inequality. Okay. So this is the one I know Chloe was looking at the practice for today, and she was like, what on one that was like this? Okay. So the reason we're doing one like this in class, then you got practice later, is because I'm going over this one. Then there's one, what is it, like used books? Chloe, isn't that what it is? I think it was on used bookstore. Yeah, right. So this is like the bookstore problem on the practice tonight. Okay. So what we got here is the robot can push up to 3 pounds. So, well, can the robot push 2 pounds? Yes. Can it push 1 pound? Yeah. Could it theoretically push 0 pounds? I mean, sure. But, something that's above 0 and less than 3, right? But it says up to 3 pounds. So technically it can use 3 pounds also. Okay. So the way that I look at this is, it can, push from 0 to 3 pounds right here, right? That's what the robot can do. Now, can it do 3 pounds? Yes. So I'm gonna put a little dot right here. Okay. It doesn't make sense to say you can push negative pounds. Okay. So the way we look at this right here is the box weight that the robot can push. Okay. Could be 1, 2, or 3. Well, it can't be greater than 3. So the weight that he can push is less than 3 pounds, or it could equal 3 pounds. So what I'm doing with the little line under it here, notice, just means it can equal it. So the weight it can push is less than 3 pounds, but since it can also equal 3 pounds, I'm making like the little equal sign under it right there. So it's less than or equal to 3 pounds. Okay. So all that the W means is that the box weight has to be less than or equal to that. That's the variable, right? That's what it stands for. Now, think about it this way. 1 is less than or equal to 3, right? So that's true. 2, less than or equal to 3. And 2.5, 2.75, etc. All those are true statements. 4 is not less than 3. So that makes sense because the robot can't push 4 pounds. Okay. Any questions on that? Hopefully that will help you understand what I mean by the little price of books problem. Okay. Because technically, if you think about it, Mr. Robot Guy could push 2.99 pounds, right? He could push 2.99. All right. Just like less than $5 includes $4.99. Okay. All right. Now, let's see what we got next here. All right. I think y'all have a plot on this one. Okay. All right. Find three different numbers that could be A if the absolute value of A is less than 5. Okay. Then plot the numbers on the number line and put other dots that would work there. Then three numbers for B that could be B if the absolute value of B is greater than 3, and plot those, and then as many more as you can as well. Okay. So give it a shot on this. I'm going to go over it and make sure that you're understanding. Okay. So all you're doing here is putting little dots on there that'll work for A and for B. There's more than a few answers on here. There's quite a few possible answers. Give it a shot. Once you get the 3 on there, do more. Okay. Okay. Some of y'all you're missing the fact that of the way absolute value works here. It's fine. Just do your best, but then I'm going to kind of double check some things here. Okay. Now, I want to look at this one right here because this is something I want you to notice. Okay. Now, this person right here has the absolute value of A is less than 5. So are those right? Yeah, those are right. But there's some other examples that are being overlooked. And same with the absolute value of B, if B is greater than, if the absolute value is greater than 3. Okay, so let me show you what the difference is right here. Okay, so if, and adjust your answers to match mine, please. All right, so if the absolute value of A is less than 5, that means that A could be, for example, could A be -4? Is the absolute value of -4 less than 5? Yeah. So the absolute value of -4 is 4. Okay. So what it says could be A, well, that could be A right there, couldn't it? Couldn't A be right here, 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 all these right here, all the way up to, and not including 5, and not including -5, but it could be anywhere in between them right there. Okay. Because what you got here is that, say, the absolute value of -1.5 is 1.5. Is that less than 5? Yes. Okay. So your answers would include everything with absolute values that are less. All right. Everything that whose absolute values are less than 5. So all of the numbers between the 5s. Okay. Does that make sense? What I'm saying there? Now that I said it, it doesn't surprise me that we missed that the first one. Okay. Now, what that means for the second one here is this: B, the absolute value of B is greater than 3. So that means, as I saw people marking, yeah, it could be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Yes. However, so it can't be 3 right here. It could be anywhere over here, right? Okay, because the absolute value of those would be greater than 3. That means how far they are from 0, right? But it also could be over here. Why? Because the absolute value of -9, remember, it means how far it is from 0. It is 9. So is 9 greater than 3? Yes. Okay. Okay. Any questions on what I said there? Or does that make sense now? All right. And fix your slide, make it look more like mine. All right. At least the little number line parts. All right. So the idea being here, the absolute value of A means how far it is from 0. If it is less than 5 away from 0, okay, that means everything between the 5s. If the absolute value of B is greater than 3, that means everything past 3, but everything that is also past 3 on the negative side, the other way, because it's talking about how far it is from 0. Okay? Some questions on that? Okay? You need to fix yours, make it look more like mine. See, like this person, they fixed theirs. Good job. Okay? So when I'm looking at it later, yeah, that works too. Then I'm like, you didn't fix it. So if you're like, wait, why not only get 7 out of 10 points? Probably because you got a slide that didn't look like you fixed your work. Okay? To say it. All right. Any other questions there? Back to mine. Okay. All right. Next thing, we got a few more slides here. This is a no draw. Okay. All right. So on this one right here, just if I did a no draw on this one, that means I probably have another one. Like, yeah, I do. Okay. There's a good reason for that. All right. So I want to show you this type of question right here and how to compare these. Okay. So the first thing I would do on one like this, okay, watch this example, and then I'm going to have you do the next two. So compare the absolute value of -5 and the absolute value of 3. The first thing you do is you evaluate the absolute values. All right. So you say the absolute value of -5 is 5. So now here's we're going to do a comparison here, right? Less than, greater than, right? And then 3. So is it greater than, less than, or equal to? Well, that's greater than. Okay. Therefore, the greater than sign is the one I'm looking for here. So that will be A. It's not the same absolute value. It's not, that's not less than because it's the absolute values, and it's not less than or equal to. Okay. That's how you would do this. Okay. Now, I'll give you two more, and I want you to evaluate the absolute values first. Okay. Don't just do it by looking at them. Do the evaluation first. So go ahead and do these two. So the first thing I ought to see you doing is writing the absolute value thingies first, right? So the first thing I ought to see you doing is above or below the absolute value of -48. You should be writing 48, right? That's the first thing you should be writing. I think it said 48, didn't it? No, 49. Sorry. I was just looking at it from there. Okay, person right here. You did not do this right here. Okay. Do that first, and that should be evident that it's this, whoever person is. I'm not looking at names. Okay. And I would guess that you might want to check that one too. I haven't looked at that answer yet. That's literally the only reason you would make that mistake. I'm trying to avoid you making mistake on tests on that. Like sometimes there's things on tests that are hard. You know what you need to not do? Don't miss the easy stuff. Okay. This is the easy stuff once you get a hang of it. Don't miss it. All right. All right. So the first one, you should have A, because the absolute value of 49 is the -49 is 49. The absolute value of -52 is 52, therefore less than. All right, so let's look at, I'm going to do mine on here. Okay, so the absolute value of -500 would be 500. Okay, the absolute value of -5,000 would be 5 thousandths. Now here's one. This one's a little bit tough. All right. It's better to compare when you're comparing decimals, and I put some of these on weekly reviews recently too, to have the same number of decimal places, because that way you can see, okay, if I compare the first one, they're both zeros. If I compare the second one, this one's a 5, that one's a 0. So that means this one is greater, right? So therefore you needed B on that one. All right, let me show you another way of, like, I'm gonna line them up like this. Here's what I'm saying. All right, if it's like this, you start with the one next to the decimal. You compare those two. Same, not same. This one's bigger, right? So that's where you know, just like that. All right. Okay. Everybody got that one fixed? Any questions? Okay, so you should have A and B on that. All right. Let me see what I got left here. I think we got, yeah, 2 more slides. Not much. All right. Because these are just like little practice ones. Which absolute value represents a number less than the absolute value of -8? So that means evaluate each one of them is what you need to do. So the first thing I should see you doing on your screen here is you should be taking the absolute value of each one of these, right? So I'll write this first one. Absolute value of -8 is 8. So that's what we're comparing, is the 8. All right. So go ahead and write what you're comparing here. And you're looking for one that has an absolute value that is less than 8. And as long as you do the absolute values first, this should be a literal piece of cake. All right, so circle the right answer once you've done all this. And, what I noticed last week's quiz with, everybody's done the work before they went through and did the quiz. Y'all did very well. Like, some people missed 1 and 2 or 3, but overall, once you get the hang of this stuff, it's the kind of thing that if you actually are getting it, you're getting it, right? I'm not trying to trick you. Okay. All right. So the answer you should have gotten here is A, right? Or the first one, because the absolute value of -7 is 7, and 7 is less than 8. Simple enough, right? Okay. Anybody need another second, or we good? Okay. All right. And then the last one here is this. Okay. This one's a bit longer, but I wanted to talk you through one of these situations here, because I think these are the type that I think I've got at least one like this on practice in the next couple of days. All right, so Andre looks at a box of paper clips. He says, I think the number of paper clips in the box is less than 1,000. Lynn looks at the box. She says, I think the number of paper clips in the box is more than 500. Okay, so using P for the number of paper clips, Andre, so I'm going to write Andre's, and then I want you to write Lynn's. So you write Andre's also. P for paper clips. He says, I think it is less than 1,000. Okay, so write P is less than 1,000 on yours. Then for Lynn's, use P, and then put she thinks it is more than 500. So I want you to go ahead for the second part here to write what Lynn's is. Okay, so you write the second one also. Okay, good. I see that one. Yeah. Okay. So for the first one, we have Andre thinks there's less than 1,000. Lynn thinks there's more than 500. Okay. All right. So notice on mine here, I have P is less than 1,000 for Andre. He thinks there's less than 1,000 paper clips. All right. Lynn thinks there's more or greater than 500. Right. So you should have P is greater than 500. Okay. Do you think both of them would agree there could be 487 paper clips in the box? Go ahead and answer that. I'll give you a hint. It's no. So you need to put no because something. No, because So basically, you need to put who wouldn't agree and why. And then for number 4, same thing. Would they agree there could be 742? All right. So I see some no's. Okay. Yeah. Your answer should have something to do with Lynn on number 3. Like, I don't think it's a real good answer if you don't have Lynn's name in it. That's what I'm saying. All right. A good answer should have Lynn's name in it for number 3. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. All right. So when you're ready to see, this is what I'm talking about right here. Let's see who's. Congratulations to who got the good answer here. Charlie. Good job, Charlie. All right. So no, because Lynn thinks there are more than 500 paper clips in the box, and 487 is less than 500. Excellent answer, Charlie. That's precisely what I'm talking about here, right? Okay, because it's a no, and the reason it's no is because Lynn thinks there will be more than that. Okay. All right. And then the last one, let's see if we can get the last one down. Would they agree that there could be 742? Give it a shot. All right. I see. Okay. Yeah. See some mathematical explanations, some word explanations, and more of a word explanation on this kind of problem personally, but I could see either one. All right. So on this one, well, it's not whether or not it's right or not, it's whether or not it's possibly right. Okay. The answer is, let's see. I see something good coming here. Let's see what we got. I see a yes, because 742 is right in the middle, okay, of their guesses. Yeah, so it's in the zone between their guesses, right? And this, there's one right here that was good too, where, like, for example, this one right here said yes because 742 is greater than 500 and less than 1000. So that was Shelby. Good answer, Shelby. Okay. Because it's in that gap right there, right? So the gap between 500 and 1000. Okay. So that's something like that is totally a good answer on that one. All right. So get that answer typed in there, and then we'll wrap it up in just a second. All right. Remember, if for some reason you think that when I look at yours, it's going to look like that you goofed up or something, I do have a student pace link of this Nearpod you can go back and do. And one of the things I'm doing today is looking back at Nearpods. I do that every couple of days, and I'm going to see, okay, maybe you did a different one, went back and did a student pace version and did a better job on it, right? So yeah. All right. Okay. So just to kind of wrap it up here, all right, what we're needing the rest of the week, make sure you got all of the daily practice things and the Nearpods done. Okay. Double check your grade book, like I was telling you there. See what you're missing. Okay. I do keep it up to date and pretty accurate within a day. Okay. And then certainly, you know, Friday quiz is going to use all the stuff from Unit 3, and then some more practice, obviously, tomorrow. And then there's also weekly review 6 this week. All right. So that being said, I will see you guys later.